Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where you'll hear from industry leaders in science, technology, and innovation about the power of strategic storytelling. With decades of experience, our guests will share their own insights and real-world stories to help you avoid red light barriers and ignite green light solutions, from the Zoom room to the boardroom. In each episode, we'll corkscrew downward into the guests' personal experiences of challenge and success, highlighting strategies that turn complex ideas into clear, compelling storylines for stakeholders. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately to drive the vision of innovation with your team. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately that drive the vision of innovation with your team. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Red Light, Green Light. I am your host, Cindy Skalicky, and every week we bring to you all a leader who has decades of experience in his or her field, and therefore decades worth of stories about things that have worked, stories about things that have not worked, and stories about things they're still working on. And we want to really chisel that down and grab hold of some great wisdom nuggets for you today so that you can get on the fast track. And today, I'm really excited to bring to all of you Nona Prather. Nona, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Yes, you're so welcome. I'm going to grab my cheat sheet of exactly how to say the book title and everything so that I can introduce you effectively to our audience. Everybody, Nona is the author of 24 Ways to Get Paid to Speak. And she is the owner of Speaker Elevation, a booking agency for professional speakers and consultants. So Nona, this is an interesting topic for a lot of reasons and for obvious reasons, but let me kind of set up why I thought you'd be a great guest today, because so many of our listeners and so many of our clients, they sit in rooms and listen to a lot of the people you book, right? At their conferences, at the places they attend when they are going offsite. And I thought it would be a fun behind the scenes way for them to observe some of the ways the sausage is made, if you will. And then there's other reasons too. But why don't we kick off by just getting to know you? Tell us a little about your personal career arc and how you arrived at what you're doing now.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. It started at a really young age. I fell in love with the speaking industry about 8 years old.
Wow.
Because my dad is a professional speaker still, and he's a CSP from NSA, and he was very involved in National Speakers Association. Nice. So I grew up in and around that industry. Cool. And going to local chapter meetings, going to my dad's speeches with him, like his booking, selling books in the back of the room, helping him sell his topic, managing his CRM, stuff like that.
Wow.
And so I just grew up around all these awesome people, amazing, personalities. And so that was really fun. And I think that's the reason I fell in love with the industry, is because going to NSA as a kid, I mean, it's hard to not get into that vibe and that energy that you don't normally go to events where everyone is excited and everyone has a big personality. Right. A lot of leaders. So that was a great experience and really helped shape me, I think, as a person to be a successful leader.
That's so great.
Then, of course, after college, I started managing a speaker bureau for safety speakers, because that's my dad's main topic, is safety in the workplace.
Safety. Oh, okay.
So I managed that for 8 years. It was going really well. And then 2020 happened. And instead of going back to the bureau world, me and my husband decided to start our own booking agency. So actually October of 2020 is when I started. It was Prather Marketing at that time, but then we updated it to Speaker Elevation. But so we started our booking agency in October of 2020.
Okay.
And it started off with doing any and everything for anyone, trying to find virtual events. Yes. I mean, it started off really slow, but it was, I knew we weren't is going to will not be a success the first year. But
Sure.
honestly, after things started calming down, the further we got from the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
we're able to grow the business, and
Yeah.
now it's going pretty well. And so,
Oh,
yeah, almost 5 years later, we're
yeah.
figuring it
Past
out.
the 5-year mark. That's a big one. That's a big one as an entrepreneur. No question. That
Yeah.
is so cool. I didn't know all of those little pieces to your early stage and ages of coming in and into the industry. And for people listening who may not know, NSA stands for National Speakers
Mhm.
Association, and it's this elite level conglomerate, if you will, of
Yeah.
speakers who are of a professional caliber. CSP is a certified speaking professional, and it is not an easy
Mm-mm.
designation to receive. It takes an incredible amount of hard work. So
It does.
that's fantastic. I have a question. I wonder if our audience might too. Is there a difference between a speaker's bureau and a booking agency?
Yeah, perfect. Yes. So they market the bureau as a whole. So it's really like you see them at conferences with a booth, like because they are marketing the bureau.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing the bureau so that people will call them and ask them for a speaker.
Okay.
So they're marketing themselves, but not really. They have a list of speakers, but they're not really highlighting the speakers as much as they are the bureau itself to
Okay.
get phone calls coming in, and then
It's
they
like the
play.
yellow pages of speakers, kind
Yeah,
of in a way,
it's
like you get a list. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that people will visit them, look at their speakers, and book a speaker. But
Mm-hmm.
they don't really, not a lot of bureaus have people that actually call for individual speakers looking
Okay.
for events. So
Okay.
booking agencies, what we do, and I don't know what other booking agencies do, but we actually we do the leads, the follow up. We call, we ask if we can send an email, and then try to get it to hopefully a booking in the end at the end of the funnel. So
Yeah.
we directly for each individual speaker for their
Okay.
goal, where they want to speak, what
Yeah.
they can do, and actually pitching them and marketing them out in
Okay.
the world rather than pitching just speaker elevation.
So it sounds like there's a difference in the flow where for a booking or for a bureau, it's like people go to your would go like it would be more inbound, right? Like people come
Yeah.
to my website, they look through and flip through the pages of speakers, and this one looks good, and maybe that one might look good based on what they see on the website. But what you're doing is pushing them out and saying, I have this amazing speaker and I saw that you're looking for this particular type of speaker for this event, and here's why we should, like you're cutting through the fat, if you will. Is that?
Exactly. I'm reaching out to the decision makers and saying, if
Yes.
you have a speaker who I think your audience would really resonate with, would you like to hear
Yeah.
more from that person?
Okay.
So we're actually for 20 hours a month, we're making individual calls to decision makers about each particular,
Wow.
rather
Okay.
than calling saying, hey, we're Speaker Elevation, check us out and see what speaker.
Right.
So
Right.
we're make it as easy for the decision makers as possible by saying,
Yeah.
like, here's this person that I know would be a great keynote for your event.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to learn more? Rather than them
Mm-hmm.
search for their own keynote, we're
Right.
handing it to
It's a
them.
lot of work. And
It
when
is.
you have all these other things to do,
Oh,
right? You would
yeah.
like to have somebody say, like, oh, I think I have someone that would fit your need, right? So,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
perfect. Okay. Just curious, do you also have a list on your website, or do you not really show everyone who's there? What is
No,
the
we have a list on our website as well. So we do get calls from decision makers too, because we just kind of, over the last 4 years, we've kind of become known to certain industries because they've booked
Okay.
speakers from us in the past and just made a good relationship with them.
Yep.
But so we still market the speaker elevation
Mm-hmm.
in certain ways
Sure.
on social media and things, because we still do want them to know we're out there. But yeah,
Right.
they can choose. They can go on and say, okay, I need a keynoter about mental health, and they can choose those options.
Mm-hmm.
It'll pop up all of the clients that we have
Mm-hmm. Okay.
that topic.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So that was my next question. Is it like, are you industry agnostic? Are there certain ones that you tend to be, more leaning into? What's that like?
Yeah, so everyone, after I left the bureau for safety speakers, I still have a really good relationship with a lot of decision makers in the safety in the
Okay.
workplace industry.
Okay.
However, I even have a couple stand-up comedians that I've sold. I have
You're kidding.
a DJ, that because sometimes conventions, they'll have like a party night or something, and they
Right.
look for talent. So we have mental health, leadership, corporate culture,
Mhm.
just a we have different avenues of different
Yeah.
people. represent
Yes.
now.
Yes. Okay.
And that's another thing. Whenever I left the bureau, I wanted to expand into other areas that I
Mm-hmm.
see sold,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
different talks that people need, not just always
Interesting.
just one topic that we're selling
Right.
the same of. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers who are the recipients, they're the people receiving the messages of the people that you put
Yeah.
on the stages. They are, I don't know if they get a voice sometimes into who ought to be up there, but most
Yeah.
of the time I would imagine not. It's just kind of, you come, you sit, you experience the speaker. But one of the trends I've noticed recently is that, and I heard this from someone else in your industry, that you know they being people looking for speakers want like different mental health, like they want different categories right now in the world, because all this hard like logical stuff is too much in this pace and with what's happening. They want wellness speakers. Are you finding that? Talk a little bit about that, Nona.
Oh yeah. I think it's gotten a lot more, it's less generic and more intentional whenever decision
Hmm.
makers are looking for people. And there's
Hmm.
also, used to, I've sold like 90-minute to 2-hour keynotes. Those don't
Okay.
really happen as much anymore. I've
Okay.
seen a trend starting to happen where it's kind of like the TED Talk type of keynote.
Ooh, okay.
And so like one time I sold 3 different speakers to be the keynote, and they each had 17 minutes. And so it was like a
Interesting.
total of 60 minutes, switching in and out.
A three pack.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then they had,
Yeah.
like, the breakouts and things like that. They get more specific in. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of the competition has become a lot more fierce as well in the last
Interesting.
several years, because I think people are a lot more comfortable being online and
Yeah.
virtual, and also like sharing their messages, getting on camera, and,
Hmm.
like TikTok, Instagram. All
Yes.
they're making it a lot more competitive, where people who didn't know how to start being a professional speaker, well, now they can go online and just make a video and do it themselves and kind of start their own way. So the
Right.
competition has gotten more fierce. But I think if you have a clear message, if they can
Hmm.
find you easily, what you say and what you do, if you
Hmm.
are a niche speaker to a
Hmm.
particular industry, so
Hmm.
become that expert and they know you're the expert, get all those
Right.
certifications that you need. Like there's a lot of things that go into it to make you a perfect fit for
Sure.
particular people that can make you stand out like that
Right.
in
I
others.
mean,
Yeah.
for example, I am servicing a lot of science, technology, and innovation clients, but I am not a scientist or a technologist. So it's not like I'm going to get up and address those folks with their own terminology, but I know how they think. I know what their behaviors are. And so I can match what their experience feels
Mhm.
like just from having worked with them for so long. So I'm not going to come up there and talk about those
Yeah,
topics, right? I'm going to be able to, though, understand their ways of thinking and how they're
exactly.
wired, and that's the value add for being a niche. Okay, I got to push back on one thing, or at least challenge it, because I'm a little bit of a skeptic here. Um, I'm like, oh man, I hear you. Like the TikTok stuff is here, and people are like, it's competitive. I totally agree with all those things, and I'm like, but come on, the quality on the stage, are
Yeah,
these people able to show up and put out amazing content? Because I'm sorry, that's hard.
it
What are
is.
you finding about that?
Yeah, that's why honestly, in today's age, you're not going to get chosen unless you have a speaker demo reel or something that
Right.
shows you speaking in front of an audience. Because at the point where they have looked at you and they're like, okay, she's a technology,
Hmm.
expert. She's speaking in this field. We know we need her topic. Like they've pretty much decided that you're a good fit. But their biggest fear is that once you get up on stage, that you're going to stand behind the podium and read from your
Yeah.
slides and just bore the audience to death.
Right.
That's why you have to have a demo reel to actually
Yes.
show your personality, be
Yes.
relatable, and just in that, just show your personality. And so, because it's all
Hmm.
about entertaining and educating,
Yes.
and like you were saying, you're not a technology, you didn't work in the industry, but
Right.
how they think and feel. Like they don't want someone who's going to preach to the choir, someone
Right.
just like them. They're probably looking for a third party person like you to say, hey,
Yeah.
this is what I see from the outside.
Right.
knowing the industry the way that I do, that you guys who are so immersed in it may not know.
Right.
I think that's really good, actually. Yeah.
Right. Well, and then you can bring in the stories of companies and people and experiences that their peers outside of maybe their company, right, are
Yeah,
having. So there's a
exactly.
lot of value there. Well, let me wrap up this initial part by asking a question I always like to ask all of our guests, which is around a person maybe in your life, having talked through your journey to this place. I have a thought of who this might be, but I might be wrong.
You know.
Um, who's kind of turned you in, who's done something pivotal for you, Nona, that has guided you, maybe knowingly, maybe unknowingly, to this place where you are, pushed you when you didn't want to be pushed,
Yeah.
invited you to something you never saw as an
Yeah.
option? Who is that person?
Yeah, that's Henry DeVries. Absolutely. It's funny. My parents were my dad, professional speaker. When he was working, he worked with Mark LeBlanc, who was
Oh,
my
yeah.
business coach. So that's how I met Mark and Henry, because
Okay.
then Henry and Mark started working together and started the Indie Books
Yes.
International.
Right.
And when things were kind of going crazy, like, well, we had this one. I'll tell you. This is a story that why I love Henry so much. So
Okay. Bring it.
was at an event. I did not want to speak. I was so shy. I was like, I
Mm.
was a behind the scenes person. I was working at the Safety Institute Bureau,
Mhm.
and we were having our annual convention, and they were all like, you need to get up and say something. But I was like, I'm not a speaker. I don't want to speak. I just want to sell people. And they were like, well, get up and say that or something, like say something so that they know who you are. So I get up and I was like, thank you for everyone coming. I've really enjoyed hearing everyone speak. This really actually helps me being able to like see you guys in real person,
Mhm.
getting to know you and everything. And so I don't remember all exactly what I said, but I was just
It's okay. A lot of us don't when we're up there.
from the heart. I meant everything I said, and I went and sat back down, and I had never met Henry before, but we just happened to be sitting next to each other.
Oh.
He passed me a sticky note that said, that was the best, that's the best that, or you were the best part of this whole conference, was your
Oh.
part saying that. And it was kind of like life changing for me, honestly.
Oh
And
my
I still have that
gosh.
note, and I've told him about it. I was like, you're like my second business dad, like mentor.
Oh, that's so awesome. Do you have like the sticky note in a frame? That's what you could.
Yes, because it's like that meant so much to me. And
Yeah.
that, like, because I was so not comfortable.
Yeah.
And then when he gave me that compliment, and it was like,
Mm.
I needed it, I think, to like push me.
Oh, so edifying.
And
Yeah.
then after I started my own business, and he was like, you should write a book. And then he goes, I want to write a book with you. I think we
Yes.
really good co-author. So then we co-authored a book together. And now he always gives me a speaking slot at
Yep.
every single one of his
Yep.
events. And when I first met him, I said, I'll work with you guys and I'll write a book, but don't make me speak. And
Yeah.
well, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. He's got a way. He's just like that. It's hard to say no to Henry he's just got
Yeah.
that way. And it's like a little
Thank you.
secret pixie. He's got like a secret pixie dust or something like that.
It's
Oh,
didn't feel like he pushed me unnecessarily, but he did
right.
it right. They was like, I really think you could do this,
Yeah, I
Nona.
believe in you. And
He
there's
like,
so much.
yeah,
Yeah, there's so much power in that, and I say this a lot, whenever I'm working with clients who need to um, feel more belief and confidence. Not only do I ask them the same question here about like who has been an example to you of someone who's displayed executive presence is usually the term that they're trying to achieve, right?
yeah,
And then after we do that whole thing, we pause and say, just remember that right now in your role at your organization, you are also being that example to someone else that you might not know it, you may never know it, but you might be dead and gone. And someone
yeah.
might be on this podcast saying, so and so might not know this, but they had a big impact on me because of the way they walked their
Mhm.
walk, talked their talk, treated other customers when they were angry. I mean, like, you just never know, but we're always being some kind of an example. Let's all make it a good example, right? As often as possible, right? So I love that. Thanks, Nona. Okay, so let's move into the section that we talk about the lights system, which is the name of our podcast,
Yeah.
right? Red light, green light. And for new listeners, just a quick, quick 101 on the lights system. The reason that I wrote my book called Red Light, Green Light is because when I work with speakers and they're trying to get their audiences to buy into whatever they're going to say, I always talk to them and say, just remember right before you open your mouth on that stage, you're like a red blinking light of risk to your
Yeah.
stakeholder audience. So our job, me and you, is to get that audience as best we can to move from the red light of risk, the way they see you, and to
Mm-hmm.
the green light of go, so that they will say go to whatever you're proposing that they do.
Yes.
So those are the lights systems. And so I'm going to ask you, Nona, what are some red light moments that some of your clients face in the world of finding speaking engagements, and how does that show up? Like, can you be specific?
Yeah, for sure. So there are certain particular things that need to be had and given to decision makers. And I see, let's see, you have to have a demo reel, like I said
Right.
earlier. It's really helps if you have a book because, like I said, the
Mm.
competition is way more fierce now. So being an author sets you above the
Yeah.
rest. Having a website that has your speaking information on it and
Okay.
like a one sheet or like a media
Yeah.
kit to hand out as well so they can give it to their team. And the
Sure.
one thing about the website, having a, because someone will say, I already have a website, I don't want to redo it. I'm like, just add a page that is
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
speaking, because whenever you
Exactly.
go and you're like, I'm a consultant, I own this company, I do these things. Well,
Oh,
they don't want to know all about that, but
right.
they want it when the decision maker is looking for someone to speak, and that's what we're talking about. They need a page that they can go to that is easily findable. They can
Right.
easily find your demo reel. They can easily
Right.
find what your audience learning objectives are. And
Right.
they don't have to think about it. So I think
Yes.
the biggest red light is if they have to search too
Yeah.
much for your information,
Yeah.
they're going
Yeah.
to go somewhere else. So if they don't see exactly clearly what you do,
Right.
where you stand, what your audit, your objectives are, they're going to
Right.
go somewhere else if they have to search
Yes.
too hard for it.
That's perfect. In fact, you answered the red lights and the green lights all in one kind of
Yeah.
answer, which is perfect. And it makes a lot of sense. People are just so busy. Our attention spans are
Mhm.
about the size of the attention spans of gnats. I mean, these days it's so hard to keep them. I hope we still have some listeners hanging around with us right now. Nona, no. Um, but that's great. That's great advice. And I want to kind of switch the flashlight onto the people now who call on you, or those decision makers you're talking about. We were talking before the show about some of the red lights they might have, as far as like, Nona, don't bring me speakers who are whatever,
Yeah.
uh, overly egotistical. Like, what are some of your decision makers' red lights and some of their green lights?
That probably is probably the number one, someone who's egotistical and thinks
Okay.
that they are the star of the show. So I see this happen all the time. Someone will come to me and say, I'm an amazing speaker. I want to be a famous speaker. This is how okay. So they're being very all about themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
I see this happen a lot, especially after they get some success speaking on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then they forget that they're actually there to serve the decision maker.
Yes.
They're there to serve the company they're speaking at. They're not there for themselves. And sometimes I've had these speakers who turn into divas and say, well, make sure I have somewhere, like they need to book me a first class ticket. They need to book me a hotel room. They need to book me all,
Limousine, this.
they need to do this stuff. They need to drive me to and from so I don't have to pay for. I mean, there's just so many little details that have come up with other speakers that I have to just tell them, no,
Yeah.
they're paying you a fee. They're
Yeah.
paying you 15,000 plus 1,500 for the travel.
Right.
That's for you to figure that out. You
Right.
are there to serve them. You show up when they tell you to show
Yeah.
up. You stay for the event. You do your work, and you're friendly the entire time. You
Yes.
demand thing because you're not
No.
there to be
Oh,
the
it's such a turnoff. I mean, it's a turnoff in leadership. It's a turnoff in organizations. It's a turnoff in the speaker world. I mean, it's just some of the simplest things, but it goes to show that attention can lead to a disordered feeling around control and power that is perceived, and or might feel real, but that isn't attractive in any way. And so when you were talking earlier, I was thinking about, yeah, they're there to serve the decision maker and the organization, and even maybe most directly the audience they're speaking to, right? I mean, which is the company and is the reason the decision maker called. But that just is underscores what we talk about here at On Point all the time, which is that it's all about your audience and it's all about meeting them where they are, not what you want to tell them because they might not be ready for that
Yeah.
yet. And so, you know, speaking is not easy, and the good ones have done a tremendous amount to craft this craft. It's art and science. It is a lot of creativity, but it's also a lot of logical, piecing together of how to structure the message, how to research the audience, how to think about the feeling you want the audience to have by the time you leave, what
Mhm.
stories might resonate, which ones to stay away from. It's if you've heard, my friends in the audience and who are watching, if you've heard a great keynote, a great speaker, and they've made it look easy,
Yeah,
they have done so much to get to that moment, and
absolutely.
they are worthy of your praise and clapping and all the things, right? So,
Even if you think they're not good, because I hear a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, I went to this keynote and I know I could have done better." But the
yes,
difference is they probably worked their butt off, or they had a team that worked their butt off to actually get them that stage position.
yeah,
So they totally deserve the respect.
yeah,
Yeah,
right, right. Well, and one of the pitfalls, I just thought of a red light that I have seen as well. And this was around the pandemic when I was doing some coaching of speaker teams. So, in other words, my buyer was someone putting on a conference, and they had 8 speakers doing breakout rooms. And they said, Cindy, we need these 8 speakers to be on their game. Can you train them up a notch so they don't stare at the screen behind them when they're rolling through their slides? Can so they weren't like professional speakers, but they were
yeah,
content speakers that were representing the brand, right? And I wrote a few posts during the time I was kind of feeling that audience out of where I might niche down. And I wrote a few posts imagining, like, what if you are the decision maker in the back row of your own event,
yeah,
watching the person on the stage bomb? What
yes,
if you're watching that person bomb? Guess whose reputation is on the line?
here,
Guess who's got their head in their hands and is maybe even slinking out the door? The
yes,
organizer. And that is where I was trying to come in, like, I will help you avoid that feeling and help you stand and applaud by the time all of your speakers are done. Because, you know, content speakers aren't keynoters, but it is important to train them up.
oh yeah, absolutely, yes, yeah. Because I
So,
mean, in this day and age, you can't just be the smartest person in the room. Like you have to be
right.
entertaining as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so it needs to be educational and entertaining and relevant and relatable to the audience. Like
Right.
that's why you can't get booked without a demo reel anymore.
Right.
Because I mean, that stuff used to happen.
Right.
They would hire someone and they would have to just take other people's word for it that they were a good speaker, and they
Right.
go and bomb and be like, "Oh no, I'm in
Or
trouble now." Yeah.
right. Or worse, they would take the word of the speaker, him or herself, like, I'm going to be great. And then they're like, stage fright hits, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I haven't really spoken since before the pandemic. I sort of
Yes.
forgot how to do this.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me once. I went to a conference. I was speaking at it, but I was observing others, and I walked through a bunch of the rooms. And it was maybe 18 months after the pandemic. And I walked around to observe the speakers just to see what they were talking about. And I realized, like, ooh, the world's gotten rusty, So it's better now. It's way better now, but I'm sure it's just a really interesting experience for you, Nona, having grown up the way you did. And you clearly didn't want to become a speaker, right? I mean, would you say that's just like a personality difference that you
Well,
have?
Yeah, I also had a lot of imposter syndrome, and I didn't really have a big my self-worth wasn't what it is today. Like I
Yeah,
grow into it. So when I was
sure.
younger, even when Henry first found me when I was like 30 years old,
Yeah,
10 years ago, and told me that,
uh-huh.
it was like, I didn't believe it. It took
Sure.
a long time to believe that I could do things. It just
Oh,
imposter syndrome was huge, and I just thought there's no way I could ever get up on stage and do that. That just looks too scary. I could never do
that's so
it. So
great.
once I started doing it, I realized, okay,
Yeah,
once you do things a time and time again, it
yeah,
gets easier and easier and easier.
yeah,
Like the first time I went, made a video, I
yeah,
was terrified. And then after I started doing it on a regular basis, I started getting more comfortable and it became more natural.
yeah.
It's the same way with speaking. I think the last one that you saw me at in San Diego,
Mhm, mhm.
probably my best one so far,
Yeah, it was
because
great.
I knew the story inside it and out,
Yes.
what I was going to say. I knew the couple points I had to make, and so it
Yeah.
came out. But then, if you saw me the year before, which I think you did in San Diego, I feel like I bombed that one.
I
But
don't think you did, but it was better this last time
yeah,
because I think you had, I mean, you're
yeah,
showcasing the value of
yes.
knowing your message and rehearsing it a little and having it really locked.
And I
Yeah.
felt more confident. Like it's like
Yeah.
every year I do a little more speaking, I get more confident as I go.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
one of those things. If it terrifies you, you should probably do it. Because
Right.
then,
Right. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
fear
Exactly.
exposure is the best way to get over it. So
Yeah. 100%. And I think, for what do you say to the leaders listening right now, Nona, who are being asked by a supervisor maybe to do something that's hard and that's not in their wheelhouse? Because we all have those moments
oh
where
yeah,
we
for
need to think about
sure.
jumping. What do you say what made you do that? And what do you say to others right
Yeah.
now?
And I'm a big fan of coaches and people helping, like, Henry helped me practice and things before I
Yeah.
went, and I got the details.
Yeah.
And so like someone like you helping someone with that confidence and being,
Hmm.
I mean, I think it's worth getting a coach and getting
Yeah.
someone to help you with that can build your confidence. Cause whenever I would go in, I mean, it's just like in high school, when I'd go into a test, I was nervous if I wasn't prepared. But if I had
Right.
studied the way I did, I was
Oh,
like,
that's a great
do
example.
this. Let's get this over
Yeah.
with because I'm going to ace it. It's the
Yes.
same with
Hmm.
speaking. I mean,
That's a great example. I mean, so simple, but for those who are academically minded or like
yeah.
to take tests and don't like to speak, that's a great example. I'm writing it down to do a tip on it. Well, that's great. And I have I'm in the middle of writing a keynote right now that I'll be giving in about 3 weeks, and
Oh,
it's all about the kind of I have a story that's like your Henry, where I am going to tell a story about this particular teacher when I was in high school who pushed me slash pulled me to do something terrifying, which was to open the spring musical with the solo. And I was like,
oh, wow.
I am not a soloist. I am not. So it's the story of how I went through with that despite my physical response to the suggestion. And how I got through that and the doors that it opened for me from a confidence perspective, because that's exactly what it sounds like Henry has absolutely done for you, and that all of us here in this little corner of the world right now, all of you listening, like who in your world right now today, right, could be benefited by you inviting them to do something new, or for you even
Yeah.
just to call out something they did well, like Nona just said Henry did. Who can you pass a post-it note today
Yeah.
to and say to them, that was incredible? I've received those. I have one. It's like hanging on my office wall at home, like somebody who I really admire and respect told me that after I spoke, and it is on
Yeah.
my wall. And so that is so powerful, people.
Oh,
So
it
get out
really
there
is.
and do that.
Think, yeah, my self-worth went up a couple points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
just kept slowly
yeah.
building my self-worth, and he helped me.
Hmm.
I was my first podcast I ever did was with Henry, and he was like, "It's okay, it's a conversation."
Yes, it's right. It's just a conversation. We're just gonna
Terrifying
get
to
in.
people.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'll be on any podcast. I love
yeah, bring
this.
it. And
And
look at you, how you've grown. And that's what happens. Just like you can't eat an elephant all at once. We just have to do it one bite at a time, just like writing a book or writing a speech or anything, starting a business, working on a project, pushing through something to get that yes vote or that buy-in that you need and whatever it might be. So, Nona, this has been great. Tell us how people can find you who might be interested in just following your content, learning more, maybe being interested from, what you've shared about coming in and having you represent them.
Yeah, so I'm really active on LinkedIn, so you can find me Nona Prather on LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
then speakerelevation.com is our website, or you can email me at nona@speakerelevation.com.
Right. And just for those of you listening at LinkedIn, it's Prather is the way you spell her name. I always have that when I'm listening to podcasts. I'm like, that's a name I don't know. There's a couple ways to do that. So, yeah, no, that's great. Well, Nona, thanks so much for coming on. Before we hang up, let's find a way to share with others, maybe a book you've read, another podcast you really like, a person you'd recommend people follow. What's been happening? A movie you've seen? What's been inspiring you lately?
Oh goodness. I really like documentaries.
Okay.
I saw that one about it was like this 100-mile ultra marathon one.
Oh,
And that was
wow.
really good. And I read this, and then I read this. So there's a documentary about it.
Okay.
I cannot remember the name of it. Sorry
It's
though.
okay.
But there's also a book called Ultra Marathon Man
Okay.
that I absolutely loved. It was just really motivating because he goes
Okay.
like training for the ultra marathon and stuff.
Yeah,
And I think he's a speaker. It's like
I
David Cooper.
bet. Yeah.
Anyways, I can't remember, but it's called Ultra Marathon Man, and that was one of the best books I ever read. That, especially
Wow.
while I was like trying to build my self confidence, like that book actually really did help me.
Wow.
Not like a
Okay.
book or anything. It's literally
Yeah.
just like biography about his ultra marathon training. But
Yeah.
it really showed how hard it was for him to train, and he had some setbacks, and then he came back
Hmm.
struggling with addiction as well. And it just, anyways, it was just a really motivating book
I
that made me
just
feel like I can do anything if you
Yeah, if I
that
can't,
one.
yeah.
I can do
Dean Karnazes is the
it.
name. I just looked it up. So yeah, Dean is Karnanez
Yeah.
or ES or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, Dean
Yeah,
Karnazes. Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
a great
That's
book.
fantastic. Well, thank you, Nona. This has been so awesome. I know we have gotten a good swath of everything from you today, from your past to what you're seeing coming up in terms of what people need for their speaker lineups, and some great storytelling and some red lights and some green lights. So it's been a pleasure to have you on today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay, everybody, we're going to bring to you another guest next week, but I hope you really enjoyed my time today with my guest, Nona Prather. We are always looking for more guests who are bringing more brilliance from their decades in their industries so that you can learn more and learn faster on the go. So, thanks so much for watching and listening, everybody. Tell a friend, subscribe and share. And in the meantime, between this episode and next one, get out there and see who you might be able to bring from that red light of risk to the green light of go in your world for the stakeholders you need to persuade. Go nail it. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.